Haley,
Hi, how are you?
good, good. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Are you back in Switzerland or Prague right now?
Yeah, I'm back in Switzerland because we cannot work from other countries, so it's a bit, yeah, it was a sad holiday this year, but what can I do?
What do you mean? Like can't work from other country?
So our company has this policy that we cannot like do home office from other countries if we want to, because of taxes and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a dream to have a Swiss salary and live in, I don't know, in Bali or something like that.
Yeah,
Everyone would like to do that.
I mean, this is something like I've been like since I was following like a remote work kind of setup and all the things, and it kind of like does sound ridiculous that. So if you're like employed either in San Francisco or Zurich or Bali, if you're adding the same value to company, you should be get paid same, right? So it's kind of like if I create $1 million for a company, I should be able to capture 10% of it, no matter where I work from. So it's kind of like a tricky thing we have to fix, I think.
Yeah. But I mean, it kind of makes sense because if you live in the country, then the money that you get paid pays for your living, for your food and other things. So I guess that there needs to be some kind of a proportion to that.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of like thing I understand. It's like companies will try to pay the minimum that you can to get through, and it's great that if you can do local. But like as a company, like considering like most of the at least technology and internet kind of companies, they like it works globally, so it doesn't matter where they work from. It's kind of like the same thing, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. It's
Fair enough.
interesting. We could, we could talk about it a lot, I guess.
How have you been otherwise?
Well, considering the situation, I would say okay. It was a challenging year.
Yeah,
um, yeah, the last couple of when did we saw each other the last time? Was it in Prague, right?
I think it was Prague. So we did meet first time in I think 2016. So that was our first we met Romania, then Greece, and then in
Yes.
Prague basically. I think 2018 December,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, 2018, that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was over 2 years. So let's see when we meet next time, so we can do fourth time at fourth country maybe.
Well, maybe I will visit you in
Yeah,
Amsterdam.
there you go. So that at least counts as fourth, I suppose.
Or of course you can come always to Switzerland to visit me here.
That's true.
I have a I have a huge couch here, so you're always welcome.
Are you based in Geneva right now or a different country?
No, so I'm near Zurich.
Yeah,
It's like a small city, 15 minutes with train from Zurich.
yeah.
So yeah, that's where
You,
I'm based at the moment.
So why don't we like start from just like a quick summary of like couple minutes summary. Where are you from, and what has been like a high level summary of things till now?
Okay, so I'm from Czech Republic. I was born in Brno, which is the second biggest city in Czech Republic. It's in Moravia, which is like the east south of the country. I lived there with my parents until I was 15, and then we moved to Prague because my mom she met her husband who was from Prague, so we had to move. And yeah, I studied Spanish in high school, so I have a degree, let's call it. I don't know if I can call it a degree, but yeah, I have a Spanish like maturity, I don't know, like high school degree. And then I studied Romanian for 3 years. I went to Erasmus to Romania, where we met actually.
Yeah.
And then I started working full time because I didn't want to study anymore. And somehow I ended up here in Switzerland.
Fair enough. So how is Brno? Like, how will you define Brno generally?
So Brno is super nice because it's not like a super big city like Prague. You know, Prague has I think over 1 million inhabitants, which is, I guess, for Europe, it's not too big.
Yeah.
But so Brno, I think, has around 300,000, if I'm not mistaken, and it's more like a student city.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of super cool bars. The prices are not so high. The city is small, so you can get everywhere on foot.
Yeah.
It has. I mean, I lived there only until I was 15, so I cannot tell you that many things
Yeah.
because when you're a kid, you don't get to enjoy that many things.
Right.
But I would say that it's like a culture. Yeah, there is a lot. Like, I mean, now the bar scene, I would say, might be a little bit better than in Prague. There are a lot of interesting concepts
Oh,
in some of the bars. Like I went, I don't know when it was, this year or last year. I went to this bar, and you enter, and you have to pick, like, each week or each month, I don't know, they change the concept, but
okay.
basically you enter and you pick a character, they give it to you, and based on that character there is a whole story
Mm.
around it, and there are drinks
Yeah.
like made for that character,
Yeah.
and you just like follow the story and you get the drinks, and like you try different things, and it's like I really like these concept
Mm.
things. And I haven't seen that in Prague,
Mm.
I must say, and it's pretty original. So yeah, there are a lot of cool things.
I was like pretty when I did like first walking tour of the park, they were like telling that what's like a Czech Republic is famous for. Apparently, they invented the modern beer, the yellow color beer. I don't know what's the proper term for it. That was kind of like invented in Prague. So is it like really like a big thing, beer drinking?
Beer drinking in Czech Republic in general, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, I personally don't drink beer, and I feel sometimes a little bit weird because whenever like people ask me, "So you're from Czech Republic? So how is the beer?" I don't know, and I'm like, "Sorry, I don't drink beer."
It is
But
like
yeah.
whenever people like students go on like this long trip, they go East Europe, let's say start from I think the Vienna, Prague, Budapest, that tour, and they just like get sloshed by just getting drunk in Prague. That's the kind of like thing I always hear.
Yeah, and it's a bit sad, I think, because I used to work during my studies in a restaurant, or like in tourism,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of people that were just coming to Prague and just getting drunk there,
Right.
which I think it's a pity because the city has much more to offer,
Yeah.
and there were these groups of like Germans, like a lot of Germans, a lot of people from Great Britain, that they would just come and they would just get drunk. I think that one year there was even like a story of some teenage guys, like high school students
Yeah.
from Denmark, that got super drunk, and like I don't know, it was a huge like scandal, I guess.
Mm.
I don't remember the year, but yeah, everyone comes to Prague because the alcohol is super cheap. I mean, you can get a beer for €1.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, it depends, but yeah.
It is pretty cheap, I suppose. Yeah. And yeah, but that's like there is like ton of interesting things to explore. Oh, so considering that, like, how will you define the feeling of being Czech? Like now that you have like outsider perspective, also that you have seen around like a bunch of places. What do you think you look back on?
So that's something that I'm actually discovering these days, that it's the longest that I've lived outside of Czech Republic for me now. It's a little bit over a year now.
Yeah.
And like before Erasmus, that's just 6 months, and before I also lived for 3 months in Spain. So it's not, you always return, but now I don't know if I will return, like, that's like too far away.
Right.
I guess. So I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I discovered that being Czech is pretty particular because, I spent a lot of time with Spanish people, Italian people, French people, German people, and all of these people, they sometimes, or like most of the times, the people that I met, they create groups, and
Right.
they just like, they have these communities, or like they make friends with the same people.
Right.
And I never I never experienced that with Czechs. Like,
Mm.
we don't usually group when we, or at least this happened for me when I did my Erasmus. I just didn't know any Czechs.
Right.
There were, I think that in the university where I was studying, there were like 3 of us, but I never met the people because there were so many students that you just couldn't. And I mean, wasn't asking around like, hey, are you Czech? Are we gonna be friends?
Well, let me check some text.
So I think this is something that, like, we don't appear in communities or like in big groups,
Mm.
which was, I don't know if it was surprising, but when I realized it, it was like, like the light in the bulb.
That's like kind of interesting because like do you think it's kind of like I was super surprised when I was like catching up, like it's the country with highest ratio of atheist population. I think 65-70% people are atheist, which is like the highest ratio in the world. Do you think it's something like that? It's just like a kind of like a feeling to get away from any kind of like a group thing or something like that?
I think that it might come from the fact that so Czech Republic is in center of Europe,
Yeah.
and there was always someone just going over our territorium and just like kind of taking it, or there were so many people, like many different, how do you call it, like regimes and dynasties and rulers that were just like crossing our the area of Czech Republic,
Yeah.
that I think that we don't trust so easily to people, like, and especially because of communism, people
Yeah.
just don't trust each other, because it was really difficult for, I guess, for even for people, in the Eastern countries, but like for the countries where there was the real communism, it was really difficult to like trust. And I think that this kind of got imprinted into the Czech culture, or like the Czech like ways of seeing the world. Also, I mean, with the religion, it's really specific, because I think it already started in like 14th century with the Protestant wars.
Right.
So, we could like, there was always someone who was trying to make us do something. So first it was the church. They were like, look, you should have this religion. Then it was another church that was saying, you should have this. Then it was the Germans that they were like, okay, you should speak German because that's what we speak. There was the communists saying, you cannot do that, you cannot go there. So I think that Czechs are just like tired of people telling them what to do, and they kind of survive and think of ways um, how to just be themselves,
Yeah.
and yeah, kind of survive. And this is something that I'm seeing now during the crisis, because the political scene is not so good, I would say, these days, because the people are just tired of all the restrictions that don't make sense.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, everyone is just trying to survive.
Is this something like how is it like people like feel about government generally now, considering like the shadows of communist government? I think Czech Republic got out of the thing after Berlin Wall, probably, right? So after 90s, somewhere around that time, probably. How is like people perception at this point?
Well, first, I'm not really like following the scene, but I can give you some of my comments,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Just
Not
when you chat to your like friends and parents, do they see like, well, its government is good or bad? That's what's the feel.
yeah, I think that the Czech government never had like a full support from the people. Like that, not that many people are interested in politics. Not that many people go to vote, which is kind of sad because then everyone is just ranting about how everything is, you know, horrible and that this is really bad and that is really bad and we should change it. But then no one goes to the to the polls and votes, so it's like kind of contradiction there. But
Right.
yeah, I think that the in general there is not a lot of faith
Hmm.
and I mean, since the 90s, the political scene is really, how to say it, like there were these traditional parties, but they kind of, how would you say it? Like,
They broke down,
mm,
think that
sorry?
they broke up like a team war.
Yeah, like they broke up into smaller parties or they just like lost the power. And now I would say that we have like the biggest party at the moment is a party called ANO, which means yes, and it's basically led by a populist Slovakian businessman, businessman who first was a minister of finance and now is our prime minister. And it's just like, I mean, he got to politics and this is just a simplified version of it
Right.
by giving donuts to people, like
Yeah.
this is how it worked, you know. And he's there now, he's selling them everything is working, you know. In the news you see like everything is working, but nothing, well, I don't want to say nothing works, but like people are tired and
Hmm.
the system doesn't work, they don't know what they're doing, so it's a bit crazy.
What is like a perception of like your perception or like young people? Do you think over the period they want to stay in the country, or do you feel like people like, well, don't see it improving that way?
So that really depends because I mean, I live in my social bubble, so I don't know what's outside of my social bubble.
Yeah.
But I would say that there are a lot of people wanting wanting to go out to live in another country, and there are people who always say that they don't want to live there, um, but they still stay there and do nothing about it. And then there are people who are trying to make things better,
Yeah.
who are trying to um, like trying to explain to people how things work and just trying to be active in the on the scene. And so I think that there are like groups. It's not like the majority of people would like to go out. I think there are like these three groups, maybe there are more, but yeah, that's from what I see. There's no majority, I would say, because most of the people still live in like smaller cities, and we have just like, you know, Prague is 1 million, but then you have 9 more million people living in like villages and smaller towns, so there it's a bit different, I
Mm.
would say.
Interesting. Like I was also like just thinking about like when I was traveling around that area, I met like these like a group of friends who were triathletes apparently, and they were all from Brno. I don't know if that's a thing. Is that like a thing? Like people really are like extreme athletes or something?
Wow, I don't know.
That might be just my perception. Maybe just like seems like people like super physically like strong or something like that.
I wow, I never thought about that.
People look tough though. Like that's my perception. When I see like, well, just like someone was how much common it was when I just hung out with people that like they would say like, Mike, intake capacity of beer is. I'm just making a random and they were like, interesting. That's a fun way to track it, I guess. Why don't we go back to school? Like how is this a school work generally in terms of studying? Like what's the general system you have to get through?
So you have how many? 3 years of kindergarten, then you have 9 years of elementary, which is divided into 5 years of like the first, how would you say, like grade? Not grade. It's like 5 years are the basis, and then you have 4 more years.
Okay.
And like you can choose what you want to do. So you can do 5 years, and then from the 6th year you can do 8 more years in like a gymnasium, which is a it's kind of like a high school, but for clever kids. I mean, if you want to have a better education for your kids, you would usually consider this option, because you have like at some of them you have, I think, Latin. Then you can have like this career of sciences or arts. Like you can you can choose between those. And then there is a second type of gymnasium, which is like another type of high school, which is 6 years. So you do 7 years of elementary, and then you do 6 more years in this high school. And these 6 years are usually specialized in languages. So you can do Italian, Spanish, German, English, or just, like a general one. But usually these specialize in languages. Or you can just finish the elementary, the 9 years, like the basis, and then you just do 4 years of high school. Or you can have like a specialized programs, like apprenticeships, basically, with the practical part as well, which is for like mechanics, hairdressers, cooks, what other things, like practical careers where you have the practical part that you need to learn. So we have and we have 13 years of like the basic education. 9 years you need to do compulsory, and then you can choose if you want to continue the 4 years. But usually it's better, because I mean, if you want to work or you want to continue with your studies, you need to finish also high school. And then you can go to university, and we have 3 years for bachelor's, then 2 years master, and then additional, I think the basis is 3 years for PhD. But I mean, it's not so long, I would say.
That's like or at least is looks a little bit. So it's 9 plus 4, 13 years before you go to university. That's kind of like
yes.
That's like I think it's 1 year extra than generally that I expect, because
I think that it used to be 8 years, but then they kind of changed it. I don't know why, but I think that my mom
wait, I think I lost my audio somewhere.
oh no.
Yeah. So, and do you like how is the admission to college? Do you like selection process is based on like you have to show projects or something like that before you get into something, or it's like entrance test based? How do it go?
So that depends what type of university you want to study. So usually, if you want to do some specialized program like science and stuff like that, you usually need to have a really good note from the final maturity test after high school. So you need to have good grade in maths or physics or chemistry, whatever, for these like technical careers. Then I mean, each university has its own rules. And I think that in Brno, you need to have like this general exam before you enter any university, which is, like logic. And I think there's something from the language as well, like, uh,
Yeah, like
yeah,
verbal capacity, something like that probably.
yeah, exactly. And that's like a general exam that you need to do. And there is like a score, and each university has its own like ranking, what type of score you need to score if you want to enter. And then they have additional exams depending on where are you exactly entering. But this is Brno. In Prague, it works a little bit different. So for me, when I was entering, I just needed to know a little bit about the things that I went to study. So I was studying, well, basically it was Balkanic studies. So I just needed to know a little bit about the country that I wanted to study. So Romania, like a little bit of literature, and it was just an oral exam. I didn't have to do anything. But for example, if I would want to study Italian or Spanish, I would need to know a lot, because it's actually like you don't start from zero. You already start with some knowledge. So you need to have like B2 of the particular language. You need to know some history, some literature. So it really depends on the path you want to take.
Fair enough.
But the universities in Czech Republic are for free, so you don't have to pay anything. And you have, I think you have 6 years to finish. Like the first 6 years are for free, and then you have to pay.
Makes sense.
So you have 4 or 7.
So I think instead of actually it's 3 years, so you can do in 6 years. That's the maximum capacity, I guess.
I don't know if it's 6 or 7, because if you like when you enter at 19, and you don't have to pay until 26. Okay, so it's 7, because you should have 4 years for bachelors and then 3 years for masters, like for free. You should be able to do this for free, and then you start paying per semester.
Is that age related, that you have to be in that age group, or anytime?
Yeah, it's both. So it's the time and also age. So if you are 26, you already need to pay, I think.
I see.
Or if you've passed the four years for bachelors, like the fifth, if you're studying a bachelor for 5 years, you need to pay for the 5th one.
Okay. Okay, so it's milestone based kind of thing.
Yep.
Interesting. I was like also like probably we talked about it like last time we chatted already, but like it's always like super curious, like how do you get interested in your subject that you started studying? Like you started studying Romanian and also like some other languages, I think.
Yeah. So I was always kind of interested in different languages.
Yeah.
And I mean, I studied Spanish for 6 years during my high school studies, and I just didn't want to study it anymore. I was just like so tired of the literature, and it was always the same. And I was like, I probably don't want to like translate books or things like that. I didn't have that in me, like this desire to do it. And when I was deciding,
did you manage to read Spanish classics like Don Quixote and stuff in Spanish?
So the thing about the studies is I didn't have to read it. I would probably die if I would have to read Don Quixote in Spanish, because it's like one of the most difficult things that you can read, because it has a really advanced vocabulary, like super advanced. But what these studies that what I was studying, it was bilingual.
Yeah.
So we had different subjects in Spanish. So we were preparing 2 years for basically this type of studies. So we had like 10 or 11 classes per week of Spanish, And then from the third year, we started with maths, physics, chemistry, history, and geography in Spanish, and also Spanish literature.
Okay.
And then you needed to do the final exam in one of these subjects, also in Spanish.
Okay.
But yeah, we had to read like some of the old texts, you know, like from the 12th century. You had to read like poetry and stuff like that.
Oh,
It
nice.
was really crazy. And then we had to do like commentary of the text and find all the figures and everything. So it was pretty difficult. And I think that this part particularly I didn't like, because I really like reading, but I like to read the things, not analyze the things that I'm reading.
Mm.
And sometimes I wanted to read the things, but since I already knew what it is about, I was just like, okay, now I don't know if I want to read it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Spanish, you got like that's enough for Spanish. I don't need this more Spanish. So how you go about that?
Yeah. I mean, and I was thinking like, what could I do, you know, because my parents never pushed me to be like a lawyer or a doctor or stuff like that, you know. They were like, do whatever you want, and I was like, okay, but what am I supposed to do then? Then my mom, she was just like telling me, you know, just try something, just go abroad, get to know some other cultures or people. It's a great experience. So I applied for diplomacy in economic studies, and also for the Balkanic studies, because I was like, look, if I will have to study for 3 more years, I want to learn something new.
Right.
Like, I don't want to repeat. I just want to learn something new and get to know some new things, and then maybe I like it, I will want to study it more, or I don't know. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, let's do something new. And diplomacy kind of felt like, with the languages, it could be a good, you know, combination. But then I really didn't like it. It was, you know, the first year was like, you had the basics of everything, of economy, of law, I don't know what other things, and I was just like, okay, no, this is too boring and too general. I don't know if I will be able to survive this. So, and also I was studying this like two different programs at the same time, so I had to choose eventually if I wanted to continue or not. And I was also working, so it kind of felt impossible to me at the time. So I just decided that I like more Romanian, or like the Balkanic studies. And I guess it was a good choice, because in the end I really enjoyed it, and I learned a whole bunch of new things, because it's really interesting, you know, because Balkan is part of Europe, but you never learn about it. You know, it's just like in school you have the history of, yeah, they almost never mention it. I think that the only time that they mentioned it was the Balkanic Wars,
Right.
and that was it. You know, that was like it.
Right.
So I got a completely new
Yeah, I have to
like,
admit, that was kind of like my extent of, and I thought after World War II, it has been just all happy kumbaya in Europe. So only when I was traveling, I found like, oh, that was like a brutal war, Balkans in that whole area, and all the Balkanization term and all the things that only came after that one. So that's like, that is not common outside Europe apparently as well. So yeah.
yeah, it was like really interesting, because the culture is so interesting. You know, you have these different, like the history is super interesting of this region, because you have a lot of influences from Turkey, you have a lot of influence from the Roman Empire, from Greece, from like other countries, and it's just like this crazy mix of everything, of people that live in the mountains and that got like, there were so many wars and like so many things happening. I mean, it's really fascinating, and the people there are really warm. Like all of them, they're super nice. The cuisine is perfect. I it's really. I mean, I recommend it to anyone who wants to just get to know something a little bit different,
Yeah.
authentic. Then just go there.
But also like part of it probably might be like still shielded from like rest of the globalization, like that part, like rest of the Western Europe and these look like if you go like even like when I went to Baltics, it felt like I was like hoping that it's like has like a communist history or something, might be a little bit different, but it looked like a modern European city, and it kind of like looks very similar. So I think you have to be like disconnected from these massive ships coming as with tourists to be able to retain that local vibe, I guess, a little bit, and that's still there, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing, that there are not that many tourists. Like if you go to Paris or Barcelona or I don't know, Berlin or London, it's really like you feel like these cities are really similar in some way. Like they have a very, I don't want to say that they have a similar spirit, because each city obviously has its own spirit, but it's just like the Western Europe, you know? And if you go to the East, it's just like it's authentic. It's not something like the globalized society, or like the big cities. It's just, it breathes its own spirit on you. I don't know how to describe it, but it's really nice.
I feel you. I think I got the little bit vibe of that when I was
Okay.
there. What's interesting for you? Like, why are you, why languages fascinate you, especially?
So
Which ones?
that's a good question. I would say that, sorry.
Which languages do you speak? So you speak.
So I speak Czech because I'm from Czech Republic. I speak English. I speak Spanish. I don't know if I still speak Romanian. I mean, I understand. I can have a basic conversation, but it's not what it used to be. I've been learning German now since I live in Switzerland. Um, I understand Slovakian because that's super similar to Czech. I used to learn Catalan. um, I understand now a little bit of Italian because I live with a with an Italian girl, and I mean there are a lot of Italians in Switzerland. It's crazy. And I was learning for a bit Japanese, but I had to put it aside due to other languages that took over. So yeah, but I would say that I speak like 4 languages
Okay.
kind of fluently, and the rest is on its way.
All right, fair enough. That's a lot already. Like, what's fascinating about languages for you?
So it's the way that if you learn a language, you learn a little bit more about the culture, because you get like you immerse yourself in the culture, and you understand a little bit of that through the language, because each language is influenced by different things, different type of, like the language is showing you a little bit of the way of the like the history and also the culture. And you know, there's this saying that how many languages you speak, that many times you're human. I don't know if that's in English, but like in Czech we have this, that how many languages you speak, that many. Yeah, kind of. It sounds weird in English, but yeah.
As many times languages I learned, that many human forms I have, something.
Yeah, basically like that, because each culture is a bit different, and like it's kind of like a perspective, you know. If you learn a new language, you learn a new perspective. And what I find very fascinating about different languages is that the way how you can express yourself, like there are these expressions in different languages that don't exist in some other languages. And it's really nice if you like, when you speak more languages than just your own mother tongue, you just kind of are understanding the point of view of that person. You know, like for example, I think that it's in Japanese, like they have a word for the smell, or yeah, for the smell when it rains, and like the smell that you get after the rain, you know. I've never heard about that in any different language, and each language has its own expressions that don't exist,
Mhm.
and I find it really fascinating. And sometimes I'm just like, I wish people would know this language, because this is like perfect thing how to express something, but they don't know it. So it's really like,
Do you think like culture is really tightly connected to language? Because I always thought like language is basically a medium of expression. So basically whatever thoughts I have coming in that I need to transmit to you. So it's just like a way to encode that. Okay, this is English. We both understand if we have similar vocabulary and the language skills that we can like kind of get to each other. It's not perfect, but do you think like something is amiss if you don't get the kind of like a thinking brain in the specific language?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel it these days that I'm not living back home, because we have a lot of like we make a lot of jokes
Right.
just using the language,
Okay.
and that's like, you know, even in English or in other languages that you speak, like French, German, I don't know, if you don't have high level enough to like make a joke, you're never like the locals. You know, you're always kind of have a lower level of proficiency in that language if you're not able to. I don't want to say that that's just the only thing, but like if you're able to make jokes in a foreign language, I think you're really on a good way to understand the culture and the people, because you can understand books, you can read things, but there are these things in each language that are just particular to that language and to that culture. Like in Czech Republic, we make a lot of jokes, like a lot of references to Czech movies, for example. And you cannot make this joke in English. I mean, you can, of course, but only in English. You cannot make a joke about a Czech movie in English, because that's just like not, it wouldn't land as you would like to. So I believe that there is a specific layer that is linked to the culture. And yeah, I really like
Whenever I see like jokes, they don't translate well in other languages. So something which is like a British humor, it comes off really well in English. But if you try to speak in the same, even like I don't know, in my language or a different one, it just doesn't come out the right way.
yeah.
This is something like I don't know. I went to some stand-up comedy like here in Netherlands also, and Dutch people were like trying to make their jokes, and they were trying to make it in English. It just wasn't funny. So I'm like, I don't know what are you trying to do. It just doesn't sound funny enough. So
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. I think that Czech humor is kind of similar to the British one. I mean, sometimes it's really dark and
yeah,
really stupid. Yeah, it can be super
what is
dark.
Czech? What's generally like the sense of it?
So I think that because of the situation that Czechs were put in, you know, like the communism and like everything, all the occupations and historical stuff, I think that Czechs developed this like defense mechanism, which is humor. And you basically just make fun of everything, like anything, you know. There are these jokes, like I think that yesterday our minister of, oh, I don't know, one of the ministers just said that corona is worse than Second World War,
Right.
and everyone is making fun of it. I mean, I saw so many memes and so many jokes on that. Like, you know, the prime minister is just like telling to this lady, you know, we shouldn't buy us, we shouldn't just hire a teacher. We should buy an entire school for me, for geography, for this minister, for history, and you know, like these kind of jokes, and they just appear from nowhere, just making fun of the situation just to make the people feel better. So I guess that this type of humor is really something super typical. just, you know, make the situation feel a little bit better, because that's the only thing that you have.
Fair enough. Well, how will you say like other parts of Germany people care about, like how is the food culture there, how did you find Czech food?
So Czech food, oh my God, I love Czech food. I'm missing it so much. I had to make a Czech dish today. I mean, I don't know if it's Czech. You can also find it in Germany and some other countries. So I made mini schnitzels with like potato puree,
Yeah.
and it was so good
Oh,
because I'm missing the, sorry?
what will be your like top two dishes from Czech Republic? Definitely must try.
So definitely you must try svíčková. That's like the best dish you can do. It's a beef with dumplings and this creamy sauce made of carrots and some other things that I think there's celery as well. And it's that's like the most delicious thing you can try there. The Czech cuisine is really heavy, I would say, because we have a mixture of Slavic slash Polish slash Russian slash German cuisine. Like it's also, I think we have a lot of influences from Hungary.
Mm.
So like our cuisine is really a mix of everything that has been around us, and it's super heavy. Like you have either dumplings with some creamy sauce and a lot of meat, like a lot of meat, cabbages, or like cabbage in general, potatoes or dumplings. That's like the main side dish. A lot of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I would say. And the second, wow, that's that would be difficult because so there's this thing in Czech Republic that's really popular. I don't know if you've tried it. It's fried cheese. Like it's the basic thing that you can get. Like the I think it's item 40%, and it's just like fried with
Hmm.
potatoes and with tartar sauce. You get it, and everyone is crazy about it.
Okay. Is it like fish filled with cheese or it's different?
No, so you have like a block of cheese, kind of, or it can be a rectangular or yeah, or like a block of cheese, and you put it into this in the breadcrumbs with egg mixture, kind of. It's like schnitzel basically, but imagine that you just have cheese
Hmm.
inside instead of meat inside. So you just fry it like this, and you just eat it with potatoes and tartar sauce, and it's like really delicious.
What was the name of this? I think I might have tried this one.
It's smažený sír.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't remember the
It's
name.
fried cheese basically, yeah. But that's something that you would usually get for lunch if you like work. So that's something also very typical for Czech Republic. Like if you work
Right.
in a company or just like, I don't know, basically like you wouldn't buy your own food,
Hmm.
or like uh, not buy, you wouldn't cook your own food. Like most of the people just go to a restaurant and they get a lunch menu because it's really cheap, and at work you get meal vouchers. So you would just like, if your type, if the type of work you're doing allows you to do it, you just go to a restaurant and you just eat, and you have a soup, the main dish, and usually a drink like a glass of water or something. And like fried cheese would be one of the dishes, usually like every every week it will be there on the menu, or every second week.
Hmm. Is it
um
government policy to get meal vouchers, or is it company depending on that?
so it's not a policy, it depends on the company, but I think that most of like corporations, they have it as benefits because people want it, and it's just like so many companies offer it that it's something that you just get. And it's like, you know, they just take it from your salary basically, or I mean, it's on top of your salary, but obviously you could get the money.
Yeah.
instead of the meal vouchers. I mean, it depends.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that it's common for people to actually eat out for lunch or something like that. Didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's really cheap. I mean, you can get the menu for 5-6 euros. It's pretty good. It fills you up because the portions are huge. I mean, they're huge. You
That,
don't have to eat for 6 more hours after that.
yeah, that I remember as I go like I think in Prague also as I further go east, the meat-based content increases in the food a lot, and it gets like bigger portions. And I always feel like a little bit sad when I go to like somewhere like even I don't know Paris or somewhere in even Amsterdam, the portions get small and like the price goes up. I'm like that's the reverse of what I want. So
Yeah, so if you love meat, just go to Czech Republic or like go Eastern. People still love meat there.
that's true. Yeah, I remember like when I went for somewhere I think in Bosnia, I get like this big slab of meat. I'm like, can't do like breakfast with this. It's just like too much.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I did my I think it was 3 weeks of summer courses of Romanian, and we got like full service. You know, we got I think 3 times or 4 times a day we got food, and there were days where I would eat meat 3 times a day. And I was just like, no, I cannot anymore. Like we would get meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I was just like, come on, you cannot be serious. I mean, I cannot do that.
It's such a like good thing. I was like I often talk about this like here also. So when I was growing up back home also, so we had like a one non-vegetarian meal week. So Sunday afternoon will be like a meat meal, so 1 out of 21. And since I got here, I average probably start eating more than 2 times a day. So that's 14. Like even in salad, it's like a chicken salad or something like that. So it's like 14 times more meat than I was generally eating. So I'm like, at some point I realized, like, I think I can do a little bit less. I don't need to eat so a little bit too much.
But like you mean in Netherlands?
In Netherlands, yeah. Just like
Oh,
as a part of that, you just even if you get supermarket food, uh, like chicken salad or the egg salad or just get chicken basic items that you can put in oven and just start eating, or even pizza with some toppings and stuff like that. So overall, like it always is part of food somewhere.
okay, so it's not too expensive meat in Netherlands.
Meat is not that expensive, I think. Well, depend on type of thing. Like fish kind of things, like salmon is pretty expensive, but
Hmm.
and not so much, I suppose. So it depends on type, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, I was also like interested because like one thing you mentioned, like you grew up with like your mom's like a step family, I think.
So I grew up, so the first years I grew up with my mom and my dad, but then they got divorced. So I grew up, like I was growing up with just my mom. Then she remarried. So we were living with the stepdad for some time. Then they got divorced again. And then my mom found her husband that she's with now, the one from Prague. So yeah, it wasn't like step family, it was just stepdad
You didn't
at
have
the time.
that you had to live with or something like that.
Sorry, you just like
He didn't have his own kids that you had to basically live with or something like that.
yeah, exactly. It was just a stepdad without other kids. So I mean, like all of us that I have 4 siblings and we're from the same mom.
Like this is something I think we talked about this like back in time also. That, how does it like it's like because it's like such an uncommon thing that just like I haven't seen people around me like back in India at least. So what does it happen like when you go through like growing up in that setup? Does it like feels very different in retrospect, or I don't know? Do you have comparables from your uh, parents and then afterwards?
So you mean the situation like having my parents separated or having that many siblings or
No, parents separated basically. Yeah.
so for me I didn't quite notice the like that there would be something different from other kids because my mom she really made sure that we were happy and had everything, and were like, yeah, she took really good care of us. So I think that until I was like 17 or 15 maybe, I didn't realize that my parents got divorced or something like that. It was just like natural for me what was happening in the family, that I didn't notice it, or I wasn't thinking too much into it, you know. So I think that I don't even know if I knew anyone with a similar situation. I guess that as a kid I didn't think about that really a lot.
Were
And
you
then yep, sorry.
were you like how young were you when like your parents got separated?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, 8, 10, maybe 6 to 10. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's
I was really
like
small.
my first memory started at 6 years old, so I can barely remember what it's like before, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I remembered that at one point we were visiting him and his, like, my stepmom, and I remember that I have a brother who, like, he had another kid with this other lady, and we were visiting for some time, but then yeah, the situation got a little bit complicated, so we just like lost the contact, and we never um yeah, we never engaged more from that. But I really don't remember how old I was. Yeah, it was like a long time ago.
Fair enough. And how are you? How are your siblings? You have two sisters, I think.
Yeah, I have two sisters and two brothers, so they're kind of similar my age. I
Yeah.
have one sister that is 1 year older. The other one is 5 years. Sorry, 1 year younger. The other one is 5 years younger. My brother is 4 years younger, and then I have a little brother. So my mom had it with her last husband. Had him with her last husband, and he's gonna be 10 this year. Oh my God, the time flies.
Yeah, a lot. Well, 1 year doesn't count, I suppose, but we can
Yeah.
fair enough. And what are you doing these days? What's your work bringing you to these days?
So these days my work. So I moved here to be to take care of so I'm working in travel retail, which now kind of sucks because there's no travel.
No travel, perfect combination.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily, I was able to keep my job.
Yeah.
And I'm basically like taking care of some of the retailers that are selling goods at the airports. And I'm working for Estee Lauder companies. It's like cosmetic company, luxury cosmetics. And yeah, I mean, these days there's not that much traffic, but since it's travel retail, it's like worldwide, and we are lucky enough that Asia is operating normally, so we can actually do our job still. And I mean, the airports are getting a little bit awake these days, but it's not like before, and I think it's gonna take still some time for the situation to recover to the previous state, if it's gonna recover fully. But yeah, let's hope. Fingers crossed. But it's really interesting
Yep.
to have like a new kind of perspective into that as well.
How is the vaccination going in Switzerland right now?
So I don't know the exact numbers, but they have. I guess that it's I don't know actually if it's everywhere like this. But for example, in Czech Republic, they do like the oldest people or people with diseases, chronic diseases, and like, you know, the people that are more like the risk categories. And here is the same. They are just they're vaccinating people like old people at the moment. And I think that you can, yeah, I think that everything is online, so you don't have to really worry about that. Um, and it seems that everything is working, and they have like these rules that first it's the risk categories, then it's the people, the workers in the spheres that are necessary, like policemen, doctors, like the essential workers. And then it's younger people, but still kind of, 60s, 50s, chronic diseases, people with chronic diseases or like other risk groups. And I guess that young people or like the middle age,
What, what do you
yeah.
think, what do you think your number will be? What's the timeline they have given for the people with no morbidity and young people?
So I don't know what the timeline is here in Switzerland because I haven't read it anywhere. But in Czech Republic, they were saying that it should be around summer, but I don't think so, to be honest, with the situation, how it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like in a year, maybe. I was kind of checking how is the situation in Israel, and in Israel, it seemed that a lot of people are like really getting it, and I don't know if they had these rules for age or something like that, but a lot of people got vaccinated.
Israel is really doing something like really interesting. I saw the numbers. They vaccinate about, I think, 3% of the population every day. That's the kind of rate
Yeah.
going at. And it's such a, they just made it super simple that if you're above 65 or have comorbidity, you get in front of the line. And if you're not, you still have a waiver. So people, I was reading, and people like, because the Pfizer vaccine, that has to be really not the Pfizer, I think Moderna one of these two has to be
Mhm.
really like deep freezer, and you have to
Yeah, yeah.
frost it, and afterwards it lasts 2 hours. So what's happening in a lot of places, they are getting wasted because they have all these complicated rules to who is going to get it, and they're like, they go out, they're like, hey, pizza guy, do you want it? Like, okay, you get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, reduce the friction as much as you can. You have like a shopping malls everywhere. So also, I think something was that like apparently when Pfizer made a vaccine, they asked like it would be awesome if you can give us anonymized data so we can track how the impact of it is. And like Isla said, like, all right, we will do it. And European Union, when it like tried to talk about it, they said like, no, we are not going to do it because of privacy concerns and stuff. So they're getting small amount of doses is also compared to what they could get. So some political issues there.
Ah, okay, I didn't know that they were like participating in the study. That makes sense because I read that we will. I mean, the quantities for Czech Republic are super small now, so it's difficult. And I was really surprised by Israel, like they have a lot of it. So now I know the reason.
It is definitely like one of the most interesting countries. So let's see. Hopes that before summer things start to open up, so we can go somewhere in summer. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope.
What's next for you? What are you thinking ahead?
Well, um, that's a good question. I'm just like thinking what I want to do, where I'm heading. Yeah, it's like I'm giving myself the time these days, when everything is slow, just to figure out what I want. Learning a little bit more cooking because
Right.
yeah, I never, like had to cook every day, and these days I'm just like cooking and baking and doing
Right.
whatever I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just like exploring some skills. I'm also these days a lot into plants.
Yeah.
So
Do you have a whole
yeah,
as if like a whole plans go in the house?
yeah, I bought the like monstera, which is I don't know I'm sure you know this plant. I would show you. Yeah, yeah, like this one.
I see.
I don't know if you yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but whatever. So this was like my first plant that I bought, and then I just bought another one. Then I bought a book, and I'm trying to multiply them, and I'm trying to take care of them, and it's really fun because it's something, being 8 hours a day on the laptop, just staring into the screen, not being able to go out, especially now in winter. You just, or at least I have to do something manual,
Okay.
something that just takes your mind off
Yeah.
all the crazy things that are happening. So it's kind of relaxing. And I was thinking if it would be possible to take like gardening course or something like that, just to enjoy a little bit the world, and yeah, something like manual work.
Yeah, fair enough. At least you can go skiing. That's the kind of like nice. You can.
Yeah. That's good.
Fair enough. What will you try to do first thing when the world opens up again?
Oh my God, I was planning to go to Japan for so long, so I hope that I will be able to go. It's my huge dream. So if and yeah, when everything opens, I just want to go there and just do, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks of traveling and enjoying. Definitely, I will be traveling more, exploring the world again.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Any other? What should we have? Like we did cover like a lot of topics. What do you think is other interesting thing that we should know about? Well, what do people really should know that our Czech people value in their life? What's interesting?
Wow, that's interesting question. What Czechs value in life?
If they have to make a decision, what will be like their priority based on which they go? Like, okay, this is number one.
Mm, well, I don't know. In general, what would it be? I guess that education is really valued still in Czech Republic. I mean, I don't know if like what type of values, if you mean like mm, it can be a lot of things, but in general I would say that education in Czech Republic is really valued, even though the quality is not so good anymore. So if you like have a family or like a kid, you really want the kid to have a good education. That's something, I guess, or at least in my family, that was. Well, it's really a difficult question because I guess everyone is a bit different. I don't know on the national level how it is. I can just like
Like,
think of.
where do people get the sense of like what's the meaning of life? The eternal question. Where do people feel they get it? Is it
So okay, maybe like I would say that Czech people value their freedom. Like, there are a lot of people that, oh yeah, yeah, this I think this is a good way how to put it. So what's super typical in Czech Republic is that a lot of people have their cottages, outside of the city, outside of their usual life. You just have a cottage or a garden or something that you just go to during the weekends, during summer. You just go there, you take care of your little land or your little house, and you just enjoy your time and not having to deal with the world and like the society and the situation and like everything. You just disconnect there and you just work hard for yourself there. So I think that, yeah, I guess that freedom in some sense, people really value that. And what's really interesting is that what I also discovered during my studies and just traveling around the world is that Czech people are not necessarily really patriotic. Like in Romania, people would just like put the Romanian flag and they would be super happy about it and they would be super proud. But in Czech Republic, if you see someone just put the flag of Czech Republic, you would think, oh my God, he's a super nationalist and like super rightist and like, it's something something that's seen as bad, I would say. So I think that we're proud, but we don't have to show it to everyone. Like we have our own world, kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
because so many cultures and like civilizations were trying to destroy it or like take it from us, that we just kind of hid it for us only.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's yeah, optimizing for freedom. That's interesting. And I think self-reliance. That's also seems to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
How do people think of like relationships in their life, like in terms of dating or family? Or how do people generally like think about these things?
So I think that in Czech Republic, you like people are really careful with whom they talk, or like there's this culture that we are really polite, and there is this type of courtesy in the society because we have a specific um, person. How would you call it? Yeah, like we have a specific way how to be polite in our language. Like it's in English, you would write you with big Y, like with
Capital, right?
uh, yeah, like
Yeah, yeah.
like that. But in Czech, you would like say it like if someone is polite, you know it, and this culture kind of still is um, in the like yeah, it's still in the culture somehow. And where was I going with that?
I mean, how do people look at relationships? Are they
Oh yeah. So you have you have like the professional kind of relationship, and once you get to know the person a little bit more, you get more familiar with the person.
right?
So like if you go to the shop, you don't say, "Hey, how are you? How was your day today?" No, you're just like kind of distant a little bit. Of course, it depends if it's a shop or like a young person that you go there every day, you kind of develop this relationship. But in the beginning, I would say that Czechs are really polite and really um, like distant. And once you get to know them, they just get more familiar with you and more friendly. And it's a if you have a Czech friend, it's usually for long term. It's not like something, like you get to know the person and they forget about you in 1 month.
Right.
Like Czech people might seem um, cold at first sight, I would say, because no one is smiling. Everyone is like, super depressing on the way to work.
Right.
But that's just like, this is not the American dream. You cannot just be always with the teeth out. You just, yeah. So to some people it might seem a little bit cold, but once you get to know the people, they are really warm. They will help you. But I guess it's again this history that we have,
Yeah.
and like this kind of atmosphere that is, yeah, that has been in the culture for so long that it's just kind of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have this tradition of like big family reunions usually.
Yeah.
So in terms of family, you would usually be in contact with like your grandparents, maybe your uncle and aunt, and like the cousins, but not like the extended family.
Mm.
So you like, for example, I used to see my grandma almost every weekend, but like my cousins or like cousins from cousins, or like yeah, like the extended family. You would usually see them at like weddings or super special occasions, like big birthdays, you know, like 70th birthday or like 80th birthday of a person, of a family member, but not on a regular basis. It would be just these special occasions when you would meet all the people from your family, and it would be like, oh, you're my cousin from like the aunt or the I don't know what. I never met you before.
Happens to me also sometimes, just because like the number is so big, the group of people I have to know. I just like my immediate parents, if they go from that family route, about I have 50 cousins in total.
Oh
So
wow.
I don't even know all the names at this point. So it's tricky to maintain it.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I mean,
So
who
uh,
would remember that?
how do people look at like a dating scene? How is people look at that, like in finding partner? What do people do? Is it like it's still traditionally finding out? Or it's like very independent kind of dating scene at this point.
So that's interesting. I mean, now during Corona, it's a bit difficult, I
Yeah, I
guess.
suppose.
But before, so I think that you would like you would know some people from work, and you could date someone from work or from your class, or like yeah, you would just meet some people and you would just chat with them. I guess, I mean, I'm not that old, so I don't know exactly. No, I mean, I not that, but I don't have that much experience in the dating scene.
Yeah.
But like from what I know from some friends these days, or like the last years, it's a bit difficult because it seems like the people are a bit. I mean, I don't know. I myself cannot imagine mm, having to like I don't know where I would be meeting people, like because what I'm thinking about is like I could meet someone at work, I could meet someone while having classes or in my free time, like something like that. That's what where I would be. Well, not looking necessarily, but like that's how I would imagine I could meet someone, or through friends. You know, you just meet someone through friends, I guess. I I hear a lot from like outside,
Yeah.
from foreigners,
Yeah.
about Czech people, that like the guys are shy and the girls are like these super independent, strong women, and that the guys are just like, oh, I love my beer and I don't care about anything else. So I don't know if that's true, or like how would I guess about the women, it's true because I know a lot of like women and girls who are independent and like more visible than some of the guys, and maybe it might be difficult for the guys to go and approach these kind of girls when they see, you know, like, oh my god, she's like not reachable or something like that. So
Right.
yeah, but I don't know, I mean, I'm not a guy, so I don't know what the situation is.
And is it like a new thing, or it has been like that way for a while already in kind of like thing? Do you think it's more popular in like a younger crowd at this point? There's kind of like a dichotomy that men are more shy, just liking their beers, and ladies are super independent.
Ooh, well, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how is the dating scene, to be honest. Like I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, we'll find out after COVID, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your final mantra?
My final mantra. like these days, I um I discovered that I love Kung Fu Panda movies because they're like full of great mottos.
Yeah, yeah.
And now my motto is like to find the inner peace and, kind of balance everything. Just, yeah, just be relaxed with, because sometimes I'm getting over emotional and this situation is just like kind of difficult sometimes. So yeah, now it's the inner peace that I need to find.
Are you also into a little bit meditation and that scene?
Yeah. I tried that. I discovered that like the usual meditation doesn't work with me.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I tried, and I don't know how other people meditate, which is something really interesting that I want to discover. Like, if meditation is the same for everyone, or if like other people have different, different points of view on that. Because, for example, I tried to meditate with music,
Hmm.
and I was trying to like be in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have like it cannot be music with lyrics, for example, for me.
Right.
It needs to be like orchestra or like instrumental music. And I discovered that if I really concentrate on each sound and like each tone, that it makes me relax so much, and I'm not falling asleep. Because with the usual meditation that I tried, like the people, the videos that you have in YouTube, or like things on Spotify, it's
Yeah.
just like breathe in, breathe out, try to observe your something. I always fall asleep, like always fall asleep. I don't know if that's the goal. I don't think so.
Maybe
But like,
is the final mantra of meditation. When you have full peace, you just fall asleep. That's what happens, I suppose.
but do you meditate?
No, I think I'm like get super distracted. Like I can't just keep. Well, I did used to have like a superpower. I can keep my mind empty, but like generally like these, like when someone starts speaking more, like I try like Headspace and these things.
Uh-huh.
And the more someone speaks, the more agitated I get. It's like shut it. Like I can't do it. So yeah, I think just doing some sort of active sports has been like a way of meditation, because that's like if you do high intensity kind of like sports or training, it kind of like gets me in this zone where like, well, that's the only thing you can focus on and nothing else. So I call that kind of meditation, I suppose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it does work sometimes, so that afterwards I do feel very peaceful and calm. So no, that's for now.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Thanks a ton, Eliška, for taking time and talking about all this stuff. Super fun to have a chat.
Thank you too. I mean, I feel really honored to be part of your well, how would you call it, program, podcast,
Yeah.
because I've been listening to some of the episodes, and it's really interesting and really like refreshing, I would say, a lot of new perspectives. So I really look forward to another episodes.
All right. I managed to make one person happy at least. Fair enough. All right. I'll let you go, and let's catch you later.
Yeah, catch you later. Okay, thank you and have a nice evening.
Yeah. Same to you.
Bye.
Bye.